Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. Before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who is continuing to watch and support the show. That was a tongue twister. We have reached 52 views, or not views.
Followers.
I'm not dumb. Followers on TikTok. So that means we can now live stream on there. Which we will be doing. For those of you who don't know, we get a lot of views on our TikTok. So we're hoping that we may still do lives on YouTube every once in a while, but TikTok may be the primary place for us to do our lives. So be sure to keep a lookout for those. We will be posting them on our X and our Facebook to let you guys know, which we will be probably doing next weekend.
That's what we're hoping.
As long as nothing catastrophic happens. So yeah, again, thank you very much for everybody for keeping, having supported the channel. It helps us out so much. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Again, I'm not begging. It just helps in the algorithm a lot. And of course, we greatly appreciate it. And I say we get right into the show.
Okay, we'll do that.
I'm not drunk, I swear. I don't know why I'm stuttering over my words.
English is hard.
Apparently today it is.
All right, I'm going to start with reading our disclaimer, as I always do, that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real-life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Yes.
So, in our last episode, which would have been last week, we talked about living the dream.
Yes.
You should remember that, I hope.
What? Yeah.
So, okay. So what do you think of, Brian, when I say living the dream? And you don't have to quote exactly what you said last week, but...
You know, I've gone through quite a bit this week, and I'd have to say, when you say living the dream, I don't always think of applying it to, like, a real life situation. I'd have to say living the dream or living a dream would be me just being happy. Being content.
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
Being in a place
comfortable.
of comfort.
You used the word comfortable.
Yeah, being comfortable.
Okay.
And of course that can apply to real life, but like I said, going through what I went through last week, I'd have to say that it probably applies more to just being comfortable in my own space.
Yeah.
My hobbies, my ambitions.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I had asked you last week, Brian, is do you believe your life is already planned out for you, like predestined? Do you remember what you said?
I personally think so, yes.
Yeah.
I think every decision a person makes, whether you believe in some divine, divinity or whatever, whether you believe it or not, I think is irrelevant. Because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and how do you know the decisions? Wow, what is wrong with me today? The decisions you are currently making, how do you know you would have made a different decision had you known? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know you could say, well, if I knew what the future held, I would make a different decision. Yeah, maybe. But how do you know?
There's no way of knowing.
No, I'm saying if you knew.
Oh.
Because how do you know the outcome that you took wasn't the path that was meant to happen?
Well, and that's what you had said last
week. Because to me, it's like, you see it in movies. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. You see it in movies where, like, somebody says, if you knew how you were going to pass, would you live life differently? And some people, it depends on the movie, I've seen many different answers. I've seen yes, I've seen no, but one thing that I see consistently is a lot of people say no.
Okay.
I see it a lot. And even in real life, I ask my friends that same question. If you knew how you were going to pass, or how you were going to pass, or the decisions that would influence something in the future, would you have made a different choice? Now, obviously, yes, we have regrets. Everybody does. I have regrets. But I can sit here and honestly say that even though I've had rough times in my life, I can't really sit here and say that I really would change anything. Because knowing what I know now...
That's what I was going to say.
...about those situations, it doesn't make me regret because it made me the person I am today.
Well, you obviously made the choice then that you made, whatever that decision was. Yes, it brought you to this place, but you also learned a lot through it. And that's the thing, right?
Mistakes are very important. A lot of
Right.
people don't understand the importance.
Right.
You know, I have seen many different times people say, well, I wish that I would have made a different decision with this person because I would have treated them differently. And I would have been like, let's say you did. How would you have seen the real them?
Right.
And how would you have grown?
Maybe it happened exactly the way it was supposed to. Because you learn from it, right? Like you said, regrets are one thing, mistakes are another. But to me, even if you make the mistake, it's if you learn from those mistakes, right? It helps you to grow.
Like, I have a lot of situations in my life right now that I wish I would have handled differently, but in a way I don't.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have learned.
And it wouldn't make you the person you are right now, right?
Exactly.
And it will help you later down the road.
So saying that if I knew what was going to happen based on the decisions and the circumstances, would I have made a different decision? Probably. But I wouldn't be the same person sitting right here.
Exactly.
And how do I know that would have been better?
Right.
Because just because you could say, well, what if I saw my life from beginning to end? To me, it seems kind of boring.
I wouldn't want to.
Well, even if you did, you know, playing devil's advocate here and saying that I would want to see, doesn't that take everything, like the importance of life itself, out of the equation?
Yeah, it doesn't make it fun anymore.
Yeah. And when I say fun, I'm not saying like, you know, if I don't go into this room, I won't get a paper cut. You know, I'm not talking about the small things. I'm talking about the big decisions, the things that matter, the things that mold and form, you know? So a lot of people have used that example on me of like, oh, well, you know, if I knew what the future would hold, I would stop myself from going outside and dropping a wrench on my foot. Well, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
That's a small, very small thing. I'm talking about life-changing decisions,
Right.
life-altering, you know, the big things.
Right.
That's what the definition, or not the definition, that's what the description I'm trying to paint here is. Of course, if we knew our entire lives from beginning to end, we would alter ourselves to keep ourselves away from pain. Who wouldn't?
Right.
But again, some of the people I know, had I treated them differently at that time, I can tell you it would have been too fast of a reaction, and I wouldn't have gotten the whole picture, and I wouldn't have found out who they really were.
Right. I see. Yeah.
And that's really what I'm referring to, is just your experience with people.
It is. It's about your experience. It's about your journey, right?
So, apologies if that was convoluted, but
So another thing I had asked you, Brian, is what do you think of fate and destiny?
fate and destiny. And what do you mean when you say, what do I think of them?
Well,
Because I know I answered them last week, but I may have different perspectives. Maybe.
okay. So do you want to answer them separately or together? Or do you want me to give you the definitions of fate and
No,
destiny?
I know what
okay.
they are.
Okay.
I'm just asking, how do you want me to explain them?
Your perspective.
Well, I know that.
Well, like,
I'm talking about like, how do I put it into words? Like, do you want to know whether I think they are predetermined, or do you think they can be altered? Like, how
Both.
exactly do you want me to answer
do
that?
both.
Well, if you want me to be honest with you, I don't think fate and destiny can be altered.
Okay.
I think they're set in stone.
Really?
Now, of course, that does go into my own personal beliefs, but how, again, it kind of just goes into the conversation that we just had of how do you know it could be different? You know, we can sit here and speculate until we're blue in the face, right? Like, again, with that example of if you knew, well, you don't. So how do you know that all the decisions that you made in your life haven't led you to the current moment you're in? I argue they do, because we're sitting here on this podcast.
Right.
Had you told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago that, we would have been sitting here doing this, I wouldn't have believed you.
Right.
And then circumstances happened that led us to decisions that led us here.
Right. You think no matter what would have happened, like the direction you took to get here, you know now by looking back, thinking back. But if there would have been a different situation or circumstance that happened in your life, you think you still would have ended up here, is
Well,
what you're saying.
This is going to get deep, because the thing is again, how do you know you would have made a different decision? It's easy to look back on the past and think, well, if I knew, again, with that silly example, if I knew that I would have gone into that room and gotten a paper cut, I wouldn't have gone in. Yeah, but you didn't know. So how can you sit here and say that you would have made a different decision? You can look back all you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we got is the past. We don't know what the future will hold. You can plan for the future,
Right.
but the future doesn't always go the way we plan.
It's true.
So again, how do you know if you had made a different decision? How do you know the decision you made wasn't the only decision you could have?
Right.
Now, of course, you may have had options,
Okay.
but look at the decision that you made that led you here.
Yep.
It's like, out of all the paths you could have taken, this is the one you went down.
Here we are. Okay. So, do you believe that fate and destiny can both exist at the same time? Now, you said you believe they can't be altered, but do you believe they both can exist at the same time? Or do they?
I think destiny is set in stone. I think fate is set in stone, but I think your path can be different. Think of it like, I think I even used a similar example in last week's episode, where it's like, if we were both going to the exact same destination, but we took different routes to get there,
Okay.
it might take one of us longer.
Mm-hmm.
It might take one of us faster.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the other one has more bumps in the road, but either way, we're heading to the same place.
I get it.
Your fate would be kind of determined by the path you took. Your destiny
Is where you're going.
is the final place.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Okay.
Because obviously you made very different decisions in your life than I did,
Yeah.
but here we both are.
But we both are here. Destiny. Fate. I'm wrapping that around my head, what you just said. Okay. I know. So we gave the definition of both of those. Fate was the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power.
If you take that route.
Right.
I personally believe in divinity, but for those of you that don't, it kind of leads to a whole different problem, because and I'm not saying one is better than the other. That's not what I'm saying, because I'm not here to have a religious conversation. But I'm trying to make a point. If one side is true, then there's purpose for the path, and there's purpose for the destination. If there is no divinity behind it, then there's no point.
Wow.
And it's all empty. To me, miserable existence.
Okay.
And you could sit here and say, well, that sounds like a cope, Brian. You're just saying that to make yourself feel better. Yeah, but I'm living free.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if I live my life like this, and it turns out I was wrong, I had a good life.
Yeah.
But if I lived my life believing there was nothing and my decisions were meaningless, it sounds like a miserable existence to me. Now, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, so if you're watching this and you don't believe in divinity, good on you. But it's like I said in another example with a video that we had, where somebody had used Christian moralities, but he's an atheist.
Right.
But he lived by Christian morals. And I asked him why.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, because they lead to a good life. They give hope.
Well, everybody wants to think that there's a purpose, there's a reason.
And again,
Right?
I'm not trying to make an argument or what's the word? An affirmative claim
Right.
that there is divinity behind my belief system. Because again, even if there isn't, I'm still living free.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who goes in with the mindset of everything I do is pointless, it just sounds like such an empty existence.
I see what you're saying.
So for my friend, for example, who is an atheist, he says that living that lifestyle of good morals founded in Christian ideology, it leads to a place of fulfillment,
Okay.
even if he doesn't believe in God.
Right.
So the word fate, where this conversation led to, as being determined by, or read it again.
Yep. The development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power.
To me, that statement gives me peace, to know that my decisions have already been planned out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like reading a book,
Yeah.
the book of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that all the decisions that I made are leading me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's wrong, it's still hopeful.
It's comforting.
Yeah, and I will make that claim. I will say that it is comfort. You can call it a cope if you want. I don't really care what you want to call it, but it's peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm wrong, and you know what? If I am wrong, I have no regrets.
There you go. So, destiny was defined as the events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future.
Yeah, kind of goes along with what I said.
Yeah.
You know, the
end result.
the end, yeah, the end result.
Right.
And again, to know that, you know, if we do go by a divinity mindset, to know that all your decisions led to a purpose.
Yeah.
And in reality, there's a purpose to everything. Like I know there's been several situations that, again, I've been through this week where I thought to myself, well, that was a waste of time. But then I look back on it and I'm like, no, I learned quite a bit from that.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is the small things, though. You know?
Small things add up.
They do. They do. But I like how you use the analogy, Brian, of like destiny is the end. It's where you end up. But fate is like the road. That really made sense.
Yeah.
Brought it all together. So, defining destiny. Destiny is often viewed as a predetermined course of events that can be influenced by by personal choices and actions. It implies a sense of purpose or calling that an individual is meant to fulfill, that individuals possess the agency to shape their outcomes through their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what you said.
Yep.
Defining fate. Fate is often seen as an inevitable force or power that dictates events by human control. It suggests predetermined orders to events where individuals are mere players in a larger game orchestrated by external forces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even if you don't believe in fate, I like to make the analogy of like an outlet, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I'll explain.
Okay.
So you have an outlet that has one purpose: provide electricity to power equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's its only purpose.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can plug a lot of things into an outlet that can give that one purpose so much meaning, so much value.
Oh, wow.
So I look at it as, even if my fate seems to be pointless, again, or I guess I could say without much value, it's not so much what you are, the outlet, it's what you do with it, what's plugged in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I mean, like, look at, our setup, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We have one little outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Seems small and insignificant, right?
Right.
But look at all that it's
It
powered.
powers a lot. True. Wow.
And I use that analogy of life. Like, people may think, well, the decisions that I made don't feel like they have much impact. You don't know where who you're reaching.
Or helping. Mm.
or influencing.
or influencing.
That energy that you yourself alone give out can influence hundreds of people.
Yep.
It's what you do with it that matters, not what you are.
Oh, wow. True. So the other part we talked about was key differences between destiny and fate. So destiny emphasizes personal agency and the capacity to influence outcomes through choices. Destiny is also individuals can change their destinies by making different choices at any point along their journey. Those who believe in destiny often seek to find meaning and alignment with their purpose. They view challenges as opportunities for growth. Embracing destiny can inspire feelings of hope and empowerment since it acknowledges personal responsibility for life's direction. You want me to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fate suggests a lack of control. Life unfolds according to predetermined paths beyond an individual influence. Fate persists that certain events are fated to occur regardless of what one does. Those inclined towards fate might accept events as they come, believing they have little influence over the outcome. Believing in fate, however, may lead some individuals to feel powerless or resigned when faced with hardships or disappointments.
Nothing to add.
Okay, good. So I asked you last week, do you think it's really possible to live your dream?
I do. And I think I can't remember if I said it or not in the last week's episode, but I think I said it comes down to choice.
Yeah, we did say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we both believed and agreed that it takes steps to achieve your dream. We also discussed everything happens for a reason versus everything happens exactly like it's supposed to. And I like the fact, Brian, we're going to expound a little bit on it tonight, but I like the fact of everything happens exactly like it's supposed to. It's a much easier pill to swallow.
Well, it doesn't feel so, how do I word it? It doesn't feel so in vain. Because obviously I can think of hundreds of different scenarios that lead to a person having nothing and essentially living a very terrible existence. And they think, well, if this is all I've got, it's terrible that this is all happening the way it's supposed to. But if it happens the way it was supposed to be for a reason of based on the decisions that you made,
Okay.
it puts the blame
Where it needs to
where
be.
it needs to be.
Okay.
Now, of course, again, there are things that are completely out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have the mindset of if I'm still breathing, I am going to do everything I can to make sure that I can get myself out of a situation.
Right.
Because as I've said before, and we've said it many times, I'm not a victim.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I could give examples, but I think I'm going to refrain from it because I don't want to upset anyone. But let's just say I know people in real life who have very bad situations that they did to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Choice.
And if you're watching, you know who you are.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Again, I don't want to make anyone upset, but we are our own worst enemies.
We are. Yeah, we have the power to make the choice. Good, bad, and ugly. Yeah. And that's what I was saying when I asked you, do you believe that it's possible to live your dream? And you said yes. Well, when we both say that, I also believe that some of the steps that you need to make to achieve living your dream is choice.
And I say that not to make you feel bad if you are one of those individuals. I say it because I want you to realize that, again, as long as you're drawing breath, you can do different things to change your scenario, or at the very least make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I could think of many different examples I could give that could clarify, but I don't want to break any rules.
Yeah, don't.
But Yeah, use your imagination, folks. If you know somebody who's in a really bad situation, how much of that situation can you attribute to either side of the party? You know,
Taking accountability maybe would be the first step.
that's what I do. Again, I'm of a situation I'm in right now,
Hmm.
and it was decisions that I made when I was younger that put me in this situation.
Yep.
And I could sit here and play the victim, or I could put on my big boy pants and say, I'm going to start taking care of it. And holy crap, have I.
Yeah, you are. You're doing a good job, and I'm proud of you. You are.
So, what would have been better? Me being in that terrible situation and just,
Whining about it,
or not really doing anything about it?
that would not have been a good idea.
So, that's what I'm saying. Obviously, there are some situations that we can't always get out of, but I'd say in those cases, you have methods to make the situation better for yourself and those around you, or even possibly use your situation to help guide others.
True.
I know I've said that in other episodes too.
So we left it with a quote last week. I'm going to read it again. It was called Live Your Daydream. Most people are waiting for life to change before they start living, waiting for the money, the timing, the certainty, the sign. But what if the life you kept imagining isn't something that shows up one day? What if it's something you start stepping into right now? Not all at once, not perfectly, but intentionally. The truth is, your daydream was never meant to stay in your head. It's there because a part of you already knows what's possible. It's a glimpse, not a fantasy. And the longer you ignore it, the louder that gets. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start aligning your life with what you know feels right. One decision, one shift, one step at a time. Because the people who end up living the life others dream about are the ones who stopped waiting and started living like it was already theirs. Live your dream, live your daydream, not someday, today.
Yep.
And it
Good
takes
quote.
steps, right?
It does.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. You can't just snap your fingers and make all your problems go away. I would have done that a long time ago if I could.
Wouldn't we all?
But it's learning to not necessarily roll with the punches, even though sometimes I think that's necessary, but it's more of like not only rolling with the punches, but sometimes it's good to just run away from the problem and overcome it, as opposed to face it head on and get beat down by it.
Yeah, there are ways. And sometimes, like you said, Brian, you have to have that time.
When I say run away, I want to clarify, I don't mean like literally avoid the problem.
Right.
I'm just saying pick and choose your battles. Sometimes some fights are not worth fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And some are.
Yep.
And that's up to you to decide.
And some of those fights you choose to fight take time.
And you have to be willing to know when to throw the towel in.
Yep. That's what we said last week, right? When to put the sword down.
Yep.
Exactly. So tonight we're going to get into our podcast of tonight's episode. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So tonight's podcast, we're going to discuss making your dream.
Oh, that's different.
So what do you think of, Brian, when I say making your dream?
I'd say putting it into action, like actually making the proper steps. Pretty simplistic.
Is it a mindset?
Oh, it could be. Could be a mindset, could be physical action, could be a multitude of things. Mental preparation. Because to me, I have a go-get attitude. If I want something, I'm going to do everything I can to get it.
Right.
And if I can't get it, then again, that's the example I just gave where it's like I'm just not going to fight for it no more.
And maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Yep.
And that has to be okay.
Yep.
So in last week's episode, we titled it Living the Dream. So tonight we're talking about making the dream, but I want to go back a little bit to living the dream. And the main thing that I got out of it last week, Brian, was it takes steps to achieve your dream, and everything happens exactly like it's supposed to. Those were the two things that I got out of it. You want to expound on that, or we good?
Is there anything you want me to expound on?
No, I think you explained things pretty good already. unless you feel you want to add anything.
Nope.
Okay. So, like you were always told, Brian, I was always told, everything happens for a reason. I hate that comment. So, that way of living can be very discouraging. Like you said last week, it feels like you are being punished or that you have to do something to prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember you made this comment, there's no reason for tragedy.
No. And especially if that tragedy was planned.
Oh,
In
wow.
the sense of it, like everything happens for a reason. Well, let's pick a tragedy. Viewers, think of something really bad that happened in your life. If everything happens for a reason, sometimes you can't pull a reason out of tragedy. Sometimes things just happen. And that's the whole thing that I've mentioned in other episodes is like, no one said life was going to be easy. I think when I say it happens exactly the way it's supposed to, I think to myself, it gives me more personal freedom to draw my own conclusions.
It's peaceful.
Well, it's not even so much that it's peaceful, because obviously there's no peace in tragedy, but
You can rest with it better.
I can think of many things that have happened to me in my life and think that had no purpose. But if I say it happened the way it's supposed to, it helps give me a different perspective
That's what I'm trying
on
to
that
say.
situation. It makes me think, it helps point out who the real people are and who the fake people are that were in that situation. Think of the situation like the foundation, and then how I dealt with it and how people around it dealt was the house being built. It's not the foundation that mattered. It was what it turned into.
Oh, wow.
Everything that happened during and after. It brought purpose to that,
Right.
not the situation itself. Because you can have a blank slate of concrete that just makes a foundation and think there's not really, it has a purpose, but there's no real image here. But when you build the house itself, you see everything that it entailed, everything that came from the bottom up. The bottom had no real meaning or purpose, but everything that was built after gave it purpose.
Right. I like that. So when you begin to live life from a perspective of everything happens exactly how it's supposed to, it's more doable, more understandable, and more acceptable, because now you're taking responsibility for the steps that you've chosen. And it doesn't feel so, I don't know, Brian, I guess the best way I can say it is you're being punished.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Like you said, it's more freeing.
Yep.
Right? Do you want to add anything? Or are you good?
Nope.
No? Okay. So the guilt and the blaming of the past seem to fade away when you can say that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to. You feel like you can move forward into the future. And everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to. This is where you stop trying to prevent things from happening and start making your dreams. You can begin to live again.
Yep.
Yeah. And
It's almost like you can help make your own purpose for it.
right. Yeah, and I'm going to give you an example. I know you've given many. I guess my example would be like when Mom passed away. Everybody kept saying, well, after she died, was like, well, everything happens for a reason. And for a good, 2 years at least, I just kept hearing that over and over in my head. And this is the example of what I'm saying. It's easier to accept everything happens the way it's supposed to. Now, I'm not saying that she deserved what she got. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that because everybody kept saying everything happens for a reason, I started blaming myself and thinking, well, is there something then that I could have done to make it better? Was there something that, you know what I mean? Like the guilt and the blame just sat there constantly, because if everything happens for a reason, then what was it that I didn't do?
Or the reason in general.
Exactly.
What was the reason
Like,
then?
yeah,
You sit here and tell me everything happens for a reason. Well, what was the
Why?
reason?
because I can tell you that wasn't fair.
Yeah, and not only that, but it can tell you it had no reason.
Exactly.
It's just life.
Thank you. So that, is that the purpose? But that's why I'm saying, when you look at it from a different perspective of everything happens to a reason, to everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, when I turned that around and started putting it there, it not only took a lot of the guilt and the blame away, but it made me look at the situation from a whole different perspective.
And not only that, but I just thought of this. When you say everything happens for a reason, you notice how it gives a lot of emphasis on the situation itself.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. You try to look for the reason. Well, if this happened, what was the reason? But if I say everything happens the way it's supposed to, it almost kind of draws away from the situation and everything that happened before it. It's almost like it can help you be thankful for what we had.
Right.
Instead of being upset that it was
right,
that the situation happened.
Right. And it's also not only made me be thankful, Brian, of before it happened, but now it's put me in a place where I feel more free that I can move forward, because it took away the guilt and the blame.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, there really was nothing that I could do or could have done, or whatever you want to attach to that situation. It just was.
There was a situation that happened to me fairly recently, and a friend of mine used that quote of everything happens for a reason. And I looked at him and I said, tell me the reason for this. And he said, well, I don't know.
Of course you don't.
And that's what I said. I said, well, yeah, of course you don't. So how do you know this happened for a reason? You got to give me something better than that. And I looked at him and I said, I think this happened for a reason. And whether or not that reason will be known to me now, next week, next month, next year, or 10 years from now, everything that I did led me to that situation. And I will not let it control me.
Right. Well, if you live with the understanding of, or if you want to live with the understanding that everything happens for a reason, then you're always constantly trying to stop every bad thing from happening. Like,
it's a very affirmative statement. Like,
you can't.
You have to, when you make that claim of everything happens for a reason, there's an affirmative in there of you desperately scrambling to find said reason.
Right.
It puts a lot of pressure on you to think, well, if everything happens for a reason and this tragedy happened, what was the reason? Sometimes there just isn't.
Right. Or that you could have controlled it somehow.
Yeah.
Like with Nana, what could I have done, Brian?
Yeah. And
there was nothing I could do.
And that's the whole point. And I've said it in other episodes, I even said it earlier, is that no one promised you that life would be easy. No one said that. This is why I don't understand where people say, I don't deserve this. Who said you didn't? Who said you did? Life is neutral.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be a reason for any tragedy.
Right.
But if I say everything happens for a reason, I look at you and I'm basically saying decisions matter. Mm-hmm. And not in the sense of your decisions could have changed the outcome, but it's what you do with it now and later.
Right. Yeah. You mean because, I don't know if you said that right, everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with my brain today.
Yeah, that's what you meant. I know what you meant, but I want them to know that that's what you meant, that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's true, Brian, because that has given me a whole different perspective, not just in Nana's situation, but in life in general, because you can live so much freer. I can't stop the bad things from happening.
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing is too, is because you can't control what happens to other people, right? So when you live from that perspective, it just takes so much weight off of you. And now you can move forward. And hopefully in our life right now, we are making the changes for things to happen that are going to be good, right?
I don't know if I misspoke now or not.
What do you mean?
I was pretty confident in what I was saying, so if I misspoke,
Well, no,
I'm sorry. I'm thinking back on it now. I'm like, did I mess up?
The only thing you said was, you said when you live with the basically the quote of everything happens for a reason. You did explain it right. You just meant to say everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to.
I hope so.
You did. No, you did, because I remember exactly what you said, because I was taking it in.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you can reiterate. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to rehash everything I said because what I said was a lot, but, basically I'm saying when I say that everything happens the way it's supposed to,
There it is.
it gives more purpose to your decisions in the moment and after.
Yes.
It takes more burden off of the situation itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, no one said life was going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes tragedy has no purpose.
It doesn't.
That's what I'm going to say. Because and I'm even going to use, my belief system as an example, is because I hear a lot of Christians say that of like, oh, well, everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. And I think of some of the worst things that have ever happened to me, and I think there was absolutely no purpose to that whatsoever. So who does that put the blame on?
Oh boy, I know where you just went. Oh, wow. Ouch.
See how it's very easy to blame God?
So now you're being punished.
Not just that, but I can blame God for bad things that happen because apparently it was his purpose. But I can sit here and say with absolute certainty that God doesn't intervene in our lives like that. God doesn't just shoot lightning bolts down at everybody and says, okay, you are fine. You, on the other hand,
Need to learn a lesson.
yeah, tell me what lesson I need to learn instead
Yeah,
of...
please don't shoot me.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, so you see how if I say everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, it takes emphasis off of the situation and more on my actions.
Yeah.
Because if I say, well, everything happens the way it's supposed to, then what can I do to make sure things continue to happen the way that they're supposed to?
Yeah.
Or rather, the way that I want them to.
Yeah. You're taking accountability.
Yeah.
And that's part of your choices.
It's very easy to play the blame game when you say there's a reason. It's almost like...
Oh, it's a cop-out.
It is.
It's a total cop-out.
And again, I think I've used this analogy in older episodes, but it's like the example of, your kid wants to put his hand on the stove. Don't do that, by the way. But if you don't give a reason for something and you just tell your kid not to do it, they're going to do it because you telling them don't do it is going to make them want to do it.
Curiosity.
You need to give a reason. Reasons are important. So when I say everything has a reason and a purpose, you can look at a tragedy and think there's no purpose to it, so therefore why should I even bother avoiding it?
Mm-hmm.
Or why should I bother dealing with it? Why can't I just, curl up in a ball and not go outside ever again?
Right. Yeah.
But when you tell your kid the reason behind why you shouldn't put your hand on the stove, it brings understanding. It brings comfort and knowledge.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. It's comforting.
Yeah, there's reasons for it. You could sit here and say, well, I don't need to tell my kid not to put his hand on the stove. He just shouldn't do it
really?
because I'm the parent. Yeah, well, you tell me how that's going to work out when you have a rebellious kid.
Or when he just tests the waters.
Test the waters,
Yeah. Let's see how that works out for you. Yeah.
There has to be reason and purpose behind everything. And if things just don't have purpose or reason and you understand that bad things just happen, then it gives you a reason to look at other things.
Yes, your perspective changes.
It changes your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point I'm trying to make. It's all about perspective.
Yep. Because I know for me, Brian, even since last week when we had our episode and those two things, like I said to you, those two main points came out to me. I was thinking about Nana and I was like, wow, it has changed my whole perspective.
Well, you just have to allow it to. I've had people tell me I don't really see much of a belief in that either, that everything happens the way it's supposed to. And I say, I'll talk to you in a week. Tell me how that perspective is going to change your outlook on people around you and how they see you.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, they lose friendships over it.
Yeah. Yeah. It
'Cause
changes.
it does. Perspective and choice are everything.
It is everything. Because I know for me, it took a lot of the guilt and the blame away, and I found peace through it. Am I still working on it? Yeah, I'm still working on it, but I feel a lot better. So if you're done,
Yep.
I'm going to read a quote to finish this podcast off for tonight. It's called "Take Charge of Your Life." There comes a moment where the waiting has to stop. Waiting for someone to understand you, waiting for life to shift, waiting for something outside of you to finally fix what's been sitting inside all along. The moment is where everything changes because you realize no one is coming. And that's not a bad thing. It's the most freeing truth there is, because the same place you've been looking for rescue is the exact place your power has been sitting the entire time. Not in perfection, not in having it all figured out, but in the willingness to face yourself honestly, the shadows, the doubts, the patterns you've outgrown but still carry. That's where the real shift begins. Most people don't avoid change because they can't. They avoid it because it means taking full ownership. No more blaming the past. No more pointing at others. No more hiding behind distractions. Just you choosing differently. And that's where everything opens. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop abandoning who you already are. You need to stand in it fully, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then. Because the version of you that's waiting on the other side of that honesty is the one that doesn't need saving. They lead. Take charge of your life, not from force, but from truth. Not from pressure, but from clarity. Bring every shadow into the light and watch how quickly it loses its grip. It was never about being rescued. It was always about remembering that you're the one who holds the light.
Yeah, that's a good quote. Because it's another way of kind of trying. It's another way of emphasizing the point that I'm trying to make, is that because we are our own worst enemies, we can also be our greatest saviors. And I'm not talking about like salvation. I'm talking about like
Right, I know what you mean.
your perspective can help change things entirely, even in the midst of a raging fire.
Yeah. And
Because
maybe,
again, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
It's like the example, and I've given this before, of like a forest fire.
Mm-hmm.
We can all sit here and say, oh, it's tragic and we need to do everything we can to stop it. Well, look what happens to the vegetation when it grows back.
Mm-hmm.
It grows back so much greener, so much more lush.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing. I don't want you to look at situations and think, why me?
Mm.
I want you to look at that situation and go, what now? Because it makes you look at the future differently.
It does.
It helps bring a perspective of, in this situation, I will recover and heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will move forward.
Right. And maybe that's the start of making your dream. Yeah.
Or even helping in someone else's.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to end with reading our quote. Believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough. Again, viewers, just be aware that we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please share, like, subscribe, and turn on any notifications. Know that we have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. We have a Facebook at Give 'em Heck Podcast and TikTok at Give 'em Heck Official.
Yes, and I will be posting a link to hopefully all of them. It took me a little bit to figure out how to do it more efficiently, but I finally did it. So hopefully all of those links will be down in the description, and we will see you guys on next week's live.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.